Welcome back, everyone. Today is Thursday, June the 8th. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text to 252-582-5028, or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right, and you guys can help us keep the conversation going by supporting the show, sharing it online, leaving us a good 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you get your podcasting content from. We're going to leave a couple of links in the description of this show so you can do just that.
Absolutely. The verse of the day today comes from Acts chapter 20, verse 24. But none of these things move me, nor do I count my life dear to myself, so that I may finish my race with joy, and the ministry which I received from the Lord Jesus to testify to the gospel of the grace of God.
You know, that to me, like just as a man, that verse really resonates with me because I think there's nothing that gives a man greater pride than running the race, finishing the job. Like you're given a job to do, you complete the job. That's just, it's like for a man, that's just natural, you know, and it's almost shameful when you can't finish or you start a project that you can't complete and you have to quit. And I think Paul is using that language intentionally. I'm running this race. I'm fighting the good fight. You know, he's appealing not only to men, but to women as well, but really for us to know that when we start this Christian life, there's a confidence that not only will we complete it, but God's going to complete it in us. And that gives us a sense of pride and a sense of urgency for the gospel.
Absolutely. And that is the finish line, is finishing well for the gospel, for Christ. It keeps everything in perspective. Not that, you know, a nice house with a white picket fence and, 401k and a nice car, all that stuff, none of that's bad, and you should, work toward those things, and those things are good to have. But ultimately, that's not the measure of success. The measure of success is, what did you do with the gospel? What did you do with Jesus?
Day 2 of Clearview Staff
South
Retreat.
Dakota.
We are coming to you from what town are we in? What city
Deadwood.
is this? Deadwood, that's right. Yeah, we're in Deadwood. And we are, we went to a couple of museums today. No, we went to one museum.
Yeah.
And we went to like some of the reenactments of like Wild Bill getting
that was
getting
fun.
killed.
It was
that
like
was
reenactments
really fun.
in the streets.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
That was pretty fun. The actors come out and they were doing like the reenactment of like his shooting, and then they did another one they like in the saloon, and then they did another one in the street of like arresting the guy that did it. And then we went to a museum called Tanaka. And it was like all about the bison, like this story of the bison in like the American Midwest and how the Native Americans would kind of go through it. And my son, my 5-month-old, decided that he wanted to be part of the show.
Sure.
So he egregiously disrespected the woman giving the... I mean, do you want to just kind of tell him what the woman was saying?
So there was a presentation that we were all sitting in. Everybody from our group was sitting in there, kids
This woman,
and everything.
And that woman was actually from Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
Yeah, that was crazy.
What are the odds?
Of all the places, like the presenter here in South Dakota, she's from Rocky Mount. That was kind of crazy.
Like less than an hour from where we're from.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So she's presenting about, the culture surrounding the bison and all the ways that the Native American people would use the different things from the bison, like the fur and the horn and the different organs. And it was about that loud of an interruption from Mr. Holden. He delivered a movement that shook the world, I think.
This was not a big room. This museum was very, very
It was very
small,
tiny and very quiet.
Very quiet. The room could seat maybe 30 people, maybe 35
Yeah.
tops. There was only 20 of us in there?
Yeah.
If that. And so it was very small. And she's passionate. She's talking about the bison and this means a lot to her, this history of the American Midwest and what it means and how it's kind of shaped our nation at its very foundation. And Holden was like, I think I've heard enough of that. Now it's time for y'all to listen to me.
Yeah.
And
and oh boy, did we.
His contribution to the presentation, I would say, was classless. It was disrespectful. And I was like, you know what? I got to just get this guy out of here right now. So I go into the stroller to pick him up. Instant wetness all over my hands.
Never a good sign.
I look down at it.
Never a good sign.
I look down at my hand. The smell hits me as soon as I see it. I'm angry. Now I'm like, oh my goodness. So man's first instinct, I go to wipe it on my pants. I'm like, no, I can't. I have nowhere I can wipe it. Yeah. This woman's still talking. People are looking at her. Now they're looking at me. And I'm looking at them. And I'm looking at Holden. He's looking everywhere. He's like,
I feel good now.
I feel great. So I'm like, I got no clue what to do. It's all over my hand. So I'm putting it on him. The onesie's just gonna get ruined. I pick him up, onesie's already ruined. It's like falling out. I'm like, I gotta get out of this situation. I just flee. I just go right to the bathroom. So Ellie comes, clean him up, take him back. I mean, we didn't look good as a unit. The Galantises did not look good as a family unit.
No, you
Gavin's
guys
in
were
the
fine.
front of the stroller. He's like whimpering. He's tired. He hasn't slept. He's like throwing his bison in the floor. The woman's coming and picking it back up for him. He's like, "Oh, thank you." Throws it right back in the floor.
You guys
I'm like,
are.
man,
We've been there. I remember distinctly. There was one time when we first started at Clearview. Evie was younger than Holden is now. She was like 2 months old, and on the way back, because we lived in Wake Forest at the time, it was about 45 minutes away. So we were driving back from one Sunday. It was kind of in the evening. We had Noah and Hartley were about Gavin's age at this time, and we had like a 2-month-old. So we're driving back, and we stop at a restaurant, just fast food. We're gonna get in there, get it out real quick, and we get in there and we smell it, and then we see it, and it was like nothing I've ever seen in my life. If you have kids, you understand what I mean. It was
dude,
unbelievable.
It is so bad.
At that point, we just threw the clothes away.
Really?
She rode home in a diaper. We threw them in the trash can. We're like, you know what? We don't need them this badly. We're on the side of the road. This is not gonna happen. So we just threw the clothes away.
I got in trouble for doing that one time. Gavin got sick all over himself on the way to a doctor's appointment, and Ellie was like not with me. Yeah. So I just took the clothes and I just threw them in the trash can. Yeah. And she got angry with me. She was like, "What if that had been a sentimental shirt?"
Sometimes
I was like, you don't send him to the doctor's office in a sentimental shirt.
Sometimes you just throw the clothes away. You just take the L. That's just what it is.
We didn't throw the clothes away today, but I tell you, boy, we rode back with them in the van, and I wish we had. My son is disrespectful old son.
No, he's feeling good now. He got everything out of his system.
Yeah, he's feeling better now. Cool.
We're going to get Dr. Shah and continue our conversation from yesterday's episode. We're excited to talk to you more about that today. But if you have any questions or suggestions in the meantime, send us a text 252-582-5028 or visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. We'll be back after this.
Are you looking for some new worship music to go along with all these amazing shows here on the Truth Network? Well, today's your lucky day because Dr. Shah and myself and a lot of the rest of the Clearview staff have been hard at work writing for the last few months, and we're very excited to share Clearview's new EP with you, Together Forward. Not only do these songs sound great, but each and every single one of them were born from a place of genuine worship and prayerfully written by our team right here at Clearview Church. It's available right now on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, anywhere digital music is sold. So make sure to pick up your copy today and let us know how these songs are helping you, whether they're helping your worship band in your church or just in the car or around in your everyday life. Email us at info@clearviewbc.org. You can also support the ministry here at Clearview Church by visiting us online. That's clearviewbc.org/give. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text to 252-582-5028, or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right, and if today's your first time ever tuning in to the Clearview Today Show, we want to welcome you, let you know exactly who's talking to you today. Dr. Abadan Shah is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, professor at Carolina University, author, full-time pastor, and the host of today's show. You can find all of his work on his website at abadanshah.com.
That's right, and we are still in our recording studio from South Dakota.
South Dakota strong. We requested a house with a recording studio in it, and they said, you know what? I got you. Because I'm such a big fan of Clearview Today, we got you.
Is this really a recording studio?
No.
Okay.
This is for those of you if you're watching. Well, I tell you what. If you're watching, or I'm sorry, if you're only listening to the radio show, it can be whatever you think. It could be. It could be Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. It could be
Thanos style rallies, whatever I want it to be.
Exactly. It's a garage. We're actually sitting in a garage right now.
Yes.
It's like a little game room type thing with a pool table and those kind of things.
Yeah,
so it's just like a man cave.
It's certainly a man cave. In
Yeah.
fact, there's a little.
There's
you
a
can't
sign
see
that
it in the
says
shot,
man cave.
but
You
there's a
can't
little
see
sign
it.
up there that says man cave.
Yep.
There it is.
And Deadwood Customs and Classics, man, that is awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
They knew we were
nice.
coming. They knew we had a top Christian podcast, and they were like, we got to make this room
Set it
look
up
nice
for
these
us.
guys.
So we are still in Deadwood, in South Dakota, on our staff retreat, and just having a blast.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. This was since our show. We've been to 2 other places.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Badlands,
That was awesome.
and we can talk about that a little bit. But that's a very important place to me. It was very important for a reason, and maybe I can share that now.
Yeah,
Wait,
let's go. Go for
So,
it.
so I've always admired Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, so Teddy Roosevelt is on Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
But he when he was a little boy, he had struggles. He had asthma. He was just kind of a frail little boy, and his dad always took care of him. Would walk with him in his arms up and down all night. I mean, just really cared for him. And then when he grew up, he tried to be tough. His dad passed away. I mean, he tried to be a tough guy. I think he was at Yale,
Yep.
Yale or Harvard. I don't know, Yale, I think. And he learned how to box and all that stuff. I mean, but it's still, in his core, he was not as strong.
Right, he was the same person inside.
Same person, just
Yeah.
kind of a weak, frail person, even though he had some muscles now. And then something very tragic happened in his life, and the tragedy was that the love of his life and his mother. Okay, so his wife
Right.
and his mother, they both passed away between hours of each other.
Unbelievable. Within 24 hours,
Yeah.
both gone.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, so,
awful.
like he went to one home to say goodbye, and then had to go to the other one to say goodbye.
Were they sick with the same thing?
No, it was something different.
Something different.
But it just
I can't
happened
believe
to be, that this is it.
Gosh.
So he, obviously it's a huge blow.
Yeah.
Right. His wife is gone, his love is gone, but then his mother is gone. That one person in his life who was kind of steady through all those years is gone. So he decided to go away. Guess where?
The Badlands.
To the Badlands.
Nice.
That is
That's
awesome.
look, if you lose your mom and your wife in the same day, you can't go anywhere else but the Badlands.
He wanted to go to the worst possible place that he could go to and just take out his frustration
I
and
can
just
imagine.
go to work. And he had a couple of cowboys. I mean, these are real cowboys.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
not movie cowboys. These are real cowboys
The real
who
deal.
really fought rustlers and really had a shootout. I mean, this kind of guys he was with.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he met them, but he became very close friends. Even when he was the president, he was close friends with them.
Wow. That's incredible.
And so, so this was a time for him to put on his big boy pants,
And kind of grow up a little bit.
grow up a little bit.
Toughen up.
Yeah, that tragedy happening in your life, especially for a man, because for a man to lose his mother, like his first love, that's already hard enough. But then the one person that you can run to,
Right.
that's your new love,
Yeah.
she's gone too.
And together at the same
right.
time.
Same day.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been. And so I can see why he would be driven to go out somewhere
Yeah.
like that, where he's like, you know what, I'm now I truly am alone in the world. God's always with me, of course, but now here I got to grow up.
I gotta go somewhere, and Yale's boxing little club didn't help.
It ain't helping.
It didn't help me one bit.
Didn't do it.
I see what y'all are doing, but it ain't working for me.
It's not working for me. I have to go to the real hardcore. And he didn't go like to Southwest or Texas or New Mexico. No. He went to the
to
Badlands.
Black Hills Badlands.
Badlands. And that's where he learned how to fight. That's where he learned how to, the Rough Riders later on, if you, San Juan Hill, all that. I mean, that's where he learned how to do all those things.
Yeah.
And some of that was show. Some of that was, him trying to be this persona of the last great romantic and the go-getter and the grit teeth and the walk softly and carry a big stick. I mean, all of these were things to psych himself up to
Right.
go and do what needs to be done. Isn't that how we have to do that?
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just kind of psych yourself up for the task at hand. And a lot of times there's something to be said about just toughening up.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you can build physical strength. Yes, you can, work out or you can, become more fit. But toughening yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that's so important.
Absolutely. And so I've always wanted to go to the Badlands. I'd seen pictures and all, but I was like, I know it's more than this.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
So when we first pulled up,
Yeah.
you saw it for the first time. We got out of the van. We start walking. What's going through your mind as you're seeing it in real life?
I wonder what Teddy Roosevelt saw.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder what was his experience as he was here and he was doing what he had to do to grow up. How was it for him?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I remember going through Monument Valley 2 years ago when we did it, and just how red everything was. So I was expecting it to be the same, and then coming here and seeing so much green, but yet so many mountains at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it was for me. It was like two worlds of beauty that somehow collided. It was like these vast plains where like buffalo roam, and where prairie dogs are. Just this big savanna, and then rocky mountains, and yet somehow they're cohabitating, and it looks beautiful.
Right. And I mean, and
So much
you
green.
saw that, yeah.
So much green, so much grass, and then the rock formations are incredible, but they're so different than Arizona, where the red is. These are very pale, very white,
pale stone,
very
Layers of
rock,
colors.
yeah. And we saw some that were like yellow in there, like marbled through, just kind of hiking through. The best part for me was seeing the bison that we saw.
Yes.
The bison
That was
were, yeah.
incredible, because on the way there we saw one
Right.
laying on. I was like, oh man, we drove right past it. I wish we'd stopped. I wish we'd filmed. I wish we'd
I
taken
didn't even
pictures.
see one on the way there.
There was one laying down in a field.
I didn't see
and
that.
it was kind of far off, but we could have pulled over and taken a picture.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what a missed opportunity. And I was like, I hope we see some more. I hope we see at least one more somewhere.
Yeah.
And so we were stopping along the route at every lookout point, and we would look across and see the beautiful Badlands, and now this is the Bigfoot lookout,
Bigfoot
or
Pass.
this is the panoramic view, or this is the ancient hunters lookout. I mean, this is a lot of points with different names, and then we go over this hill, and you see a few cars on the left on this
Like a side road. Yeah.
and we all saw it at one time, and
Just
we're
the
like,
herd.
"Oh, the bison!"
There was like a herd of them just in the road, like crossing the road to where like cars could drive up to them, but then at a certain point you just have to stop because they're in the road.
They own that place. It is very obvious that they
Yes.
do this, so they take their time. They're not worried about you as a car because they're the kings. I mean, and I guess queens with some of them.
Yeah, like what are you going to do if there's a bunch of bison in the road and you try to? They're gonna win.
You're not going to
can't-
shoo them out of the way. I mean,
So
these
they're
are
like-
incredibly huge animals.
Yeah, if one of them gets in the middle of the road and lays down, it's like, well, okay, I can't get around it. So
Think about a bull or a cow or a longhorn that you've seen, and just raise the size.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
put that longhorn on steroids, and that's the bison
You
out
can't
here.
imagine the size. I mean, they're unbelievable.
Well, see, we were looking at pictures of them, and
Yeah.
we went to the museum that showed the bison, and they had the wax thing. But then
Right.
seeing it moving around and blinking at you, and like hearing it be like, just like
Yeah.
blowing
Yeah.
air. I'm like, oh my
you
goodness.
can hear their footfall, and you're like, this is a powerful.
You ever
animal.
see a huge animal and you can feel its strength?
Yeah.
Like to where when we got out to take the pictures, I was like, oh golly, maybe let's take a step back here, gang.
Yeah.
And so we saw those, and we, took some pictures, took some video, and were able to see them. And then we continued a little ways, and we're trying to find a place to turn around. And then there was another group that we
Another
came
herd.
across, like up over the hill. They're like, oh, there's some more right here. It was incredible, just being that close to them. Like, I mean, if we wanted to in certain places, we could have reached out and touched them.
Oh yeah, they were very close.
Yeah, to me, it's a symbol of America in a way. Like Teddy Roosevelt would say, forget about the eagle. Who cares about the eagle? Let's talk about the bear,
Right.
or the bison. I think those are really the symbol of the United States. They're big, they're strong, they're imposing. They're not going to come charging at you, but if you attack them, I don't know,
yeah.
right? Nowadays, that's not quite true. But anyways, if you attack us, we're coming after you.
That's right.
We will help you even if you are our enemy, but we will deal with you if you are going to harm our people.
Oh yeah, a bison's never gonna pick a fight, but it'll win every single fight that
Yes.
it's in.
Right.
Right. That's, I think, it resembles the American spirit
That's right.
more than anything else. And that's why I like it. The wide open spaces, the rough terrain, but the beauty in the roughness. And then to see the bison out there just moving about as free as he can be and just looking at you like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
That quiet strength.
Yeah. Okay, you're going to go by. Go ahead.
There was one that was in the road as we were pulling back and just kind of like leaned his head like, all right, you guys go on.
You're going to go on now.
So we got out when we saw the herd of them. They were like grazing in the field, and so we got out, and we kept our distance, and we were very safe about it. We were taking pictures, and they were all in the field. But there was one that stayed behind, and I don't know if it was like the security detail.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like
He was the rear guard.
Yeah, he was like the rear guard, like the security, just keeping an eye out, just making sure everything's good. And he was like scratching his back on like the post and stuff, and just watching. He never moved. And then when we all got back in the car, he was like, okay, and he crossed the road, and we went on. And I was like, this was organized. This was really organized.
There was a plan. So funny. And then, so we saw the Badlands, and then today we had the chance to go and see a museum dedicated to a dig for mammoths and mammoth bones.
Right. Yeah.
That was incredible to just see the work that was being done there. Like, we actually got to walk around an active dig site.
Yeah, this is in 1974 in Hot Springs, South Dakota. This gentleman was going to develop that area, I guess put some apartment complex or whatever. And as the big equipment began to dig, they hit a tusk.
Yep.
And when that happened, it was like they stopped and backed off and said, let's check on this, figure out what's going on. And they dug some more. Come to find out, there are countless mammoth skeletons under this hill, this mound. And as they got in touch with, they said Dr. Mead, and then a couple other, I don't know if they were paleontologists or not, but but they're the ones who took over and came into the mix. And since 1974, this museum has been operating and just they keep digging. It's an active work site.
Yeah. It was incredible to be there and not only walk around and see all the exhibits, but to just see, I mean, there were people there actually like working on the fossils.
That was what was crazy. There. Yep. That was what was crazy to me was, like you said, it's an active site. It's not just, I mean, it is a museum and it's a place where you can come in and go in the gift shop and enjoy it and see the mammoth exhibits and stuff. And yet the actual bones are not just on display behind glass.
Right.
They're being worked on right before your eyes. Like the paleontologists are down there and they're like dusting it off, and there's like the laboratory downstairs that you can go and look into. I mean, it was insane to actually be, I've never been on an actual paleontological. I've never been on a dig site before. I've never actually seen that kind of scientific work being done.
Yeah, it was fascinating to watch them work and to see them. I mean, we saw them like carrying bones to the laboratory, and someone sitting down at a desk and just with a brush, just meticulously.
They've got like the goggles on that magnify it. I mean, it was crazy.
It's exactly what you think of in like movies and stuff.
Well, I mean, we filmed.
Yep.
At the Mammoth site and at the Badlands.
Yes.
We filmed in both places because of a series called Contend. If you guys have been keeping up with what's happening at Clearview for the past several years, we've been going through this apologetic series through the book of Genesis on how creation came to be, how God made the heavens and the earth.
That's where we get our Contends Day series.
That's right.
On the show.
And then also, the catastrophe that happened during the flood, that global flood,
right,
where mountains were rearranged and new mountains were formed and new valleys and new waterfalls came to be, and it radically changed the flora and the fauna of the world, of the of the earth. And the Mammoth site, it long ago, and we're talking about in the post-flood ice age,
right.
There were, they say, about millions of woolly mammoths roamed the earth. I mean, think about that for a moment. And then suddenly, at the end of the Ice Age, because the Ice Age, if you look at secular scientists, they talk about many different ice ages that came and, for millions of years and hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was that long ago.
Yeah. Just one ice age.
One ice age, 4,500 years ago, and lasted for several hundred years or something like that. But anyways, so these are the kind of things we go and film, and we see how the evidence found by modern science, but when sifted through the biblical account, we find that the biblical account is true, especially regarding the age of the earth.
Yeah.
We're not millions and billions. The more you study, you go, how in the world can they keep saying millions and billions?
Well, it's funny because when you look at it through that biblical lens, like you were saying, everything makes sense. Yeah. When you look at it the way the Bible says it happens, it's like I see the chronology, I see where the time adds up, and all the evidence checks out. Cool, green check mark. This is good to go. They even said it today. They're like, listen, this how these animals got here and how all these ice ages work together is still hotly debated. And it's like, well, of course you're adding millions and millions and millions of years onto it so that it doesn't You found this, and instead of saying this may be faulty, so it throws all this other stuff into a question. Instead of saying, hey, listen, this Bible says this, you're going to find this and say, okay, this must be the truth, but now all this other stuff is messed up. Well, we're just going to debate about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not just accepting that maybe we should go back to what we knew was true in the beginning.
If a certain worldview is saying that the earth is not that old, okay, so how old? Maybe 6,000 years old. So 4,500 years ago, there was a catastrophe, a global flood. Fountains of the deep came open. Waters from heaven came down. I mean, it was a terrible time, and millions and billions of creatures died, and they were buried in the soil.
Right.
But then, the mammoth did not die that way.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
Because their burial or their death was something very different. It came because of the ice age, because of this pool of water that was created because of the moving ice, and then they got stuck in it because it was like a sinkhole. They got stuck in it. It became a pond, so got stuck and couldn't get out. And then ultimately, more and more died.
Made the same mistake.
After this ice age happened, this radical climate change, they said that there was this pool of water that was like 90-something degrees. That's why it's called the hot springs.
Right.
It
And
was
so the
warm,
mammoths...
it had grass growing around the edge of it.
Right, because it was such a radical shift from this ice age after the flood.
Right.
And so it makes perfect sense, but they're like, yeah, but we don't know. We just don't know.
It's because you haven't read Genesis. That's why you don't know.
Yeah, if you read the Bible, it'll tell you exactly why this happened.
That's what I love about stopping in the different places that even in the Badlands, we would stop and we would look and we would film. And looking across, you see these lines of color in the different rock formations, and it's like someone draws a level line across different mounds. Maybe there's a mound this tall over here. There's another taller one, but all the colors are level because of how the waters hit and how the waters receded, where the different sediments were. But it's not a millions and billions of years scenario. It was during the time of Noah's flood. And one of my favorite things was both of the Badlands and then today at the Mammoth Museum, they had all these exhibits that was like millions and billions and hundreds of thousands.
Every single one of them.
They'll all say it.
And two of my girls, independently of each other, were like, "That's not right. That's not right." And that's one of the things I appreciate about you so much, Dr. Shah, is that you help us as parents lead our kids through those conversations, and then as our pastor for our church, you equip all generations to be able to operate in those discussions.
Oh, absolutely. I wanted it to be because, we want our kids to grow up having solid assurance that the Bible and what the Bible has said about God and sin, and not just sin with Adam and Eve, the original sin, but then the horrible sin that came before the flood. There were giants on the earth. There were sons of God intermarrying with daughters of men. It's just a grotesque thing happening and terrible thing happening. And then God said, "That's it. It's done. I'm sorry. I made man." Yeah. Right. And so He destroys the earth, but in His grace He found Noah, this one man and his family who were still following God, and He chose them to continue the line so that one day the Savior would come.
That's right. That's right. And you remember how we finished yesterday?
Yes.
Is that we spent the entire day in the Badlands, and we're talking about Noah. We're talking about the flood. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to look at these sediments, and we're going to film a video about the flood. And then we're going to go over to this place, and we're going to do another video about the flood. And we're making them together in this one big video. We're going to put this video out in maybe a couple of weeks or so, or whenever the time comes. But we're just talking a lot about the flood.
Right.
And then at the very end of the day, while we're watching the bisons, we look over, because it rained hard, as we were in the Badlands. We look over, and there's just this enormous rainbow. And we were looking at it, and Dr. Shah was in the other van, and I called him. I was like, "Look, do you see the rainbow?" He was like, "Yeah, I do." And Ellie was like, "You can't not film that."
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have anything in the script because we wrote a script out for the video, and we didn't have anything at all about the rainbow. And I was like, "We gotta just get out and do it."
That was such a cool moment. Video after video, and moment after moment, talking about Noah's flood, and then there's a rainbow.
Yeah,
I mean, how perfect.
I asked Dr. Shah, I was like, "Do you think the Lord just wanted us to do this video today?"
Well, it was not just one. There was a second one that showed
double
up.
rainbow all the way across
there was
the
one
sky.
when you guys started filming, but as the video was going on, there's another rainbow that formed.
Yeah.
I just started sobbing. I was like, "That's a double rainbow! No way!" Rest in peace.
But it's again a sign of God's glory, God's grace,
right.
really, because He said, "I'll never destroy this world with water again."
That's right.
I mean,
right.
He knew the catastrophe that happened when He destroyed the world with water. When you drive, and I love geology. I am not even an amateur geologist. I mean, there are amateur ones, who know this and that. I'm not even that. I'm below that. So, but I love geology because when you see the rock formations, whether it's in Arizona or Colorado or Utah or now South Dakota or even back home in North Carolina, you can see something crazy happen.
That's
you
right.
see and I've read a lot in geology, and especially from a biblical perspective. And that's when you understand why God truly said, okay, I'm not going to do that again.
That's
Not
right.
that He was like changing His mind. It was more of a, I'm a gracious God. I'm going to give them one more chance.
That's right.
And the promise is that one day, He will send His Son. And that's a sign of grace.
I've always respected that about you because you're a Christian, and so there's faith. But you're also a scholar, so we look for evidence.
Right.
And there seems to be, at a lot of people's life, there's some crisis where the two conflict. And in the 10 years that I've known you, I think the 25 years that you've been studying the Bible, it's never conflicted. All the evidence that you found has bolstered your faith. And that, in turn, bolsters my faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one reason we have church, we have books coming out, we have this radio podcast, we have YouTube, so many ways, because we want to help people at this critical time in history when things are crazy.
That's
and
right.
when these values are being attacked, to help believers, but also to reach out to unbelievers and say, hey, look, there is something here you don't want to miss.
Right.
And then come to know Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Absolutely. And Dr. Shah, thank you so much for the opportunity to have a trip like this. For us as individuals, as a leadership team, as our families, I mean, we can't say thank you enough for
It's
a
been
once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Brilliant.
Well, just to see our whole group and you guys interacting with your family, kids. Some of our team is here. David's here. Adam's here. Nick's inside. Katie's inside. But it's wonderful to see them having a good time, growing, enjoying themselves, taking it all in. Sometimes you can see they're getting overwhelmed. So much is, going on. But this is part of that replenishing time.
That's right.
Retreat is to replenish our heart, mind, body, spirit. And each day, morning and evening, we're doing our study through the book of Philippians.
That's right.
And then we pray every morning for our church families, name by name.
That's right.
So, anyways.
I know we're running out of time, but what would you recommend for other pastors and other church leaders if they're like, I want to do this, but I just feel like I don't know if we can go as big as you guys are going.
Yeah, start small.
Yeah.
Start small. Just go to the beach. Get a house there and spend some time there. But don't stay there. Take your team out somewhere else. Don't just be a time to just sit back, kick back by the pool, relaxing, which is good. Which we will do as well.
Sure.
Before summer is over, we're going to take a trip to the beach. But go away somewhere where they can be away from their surroundings and connect with each other and be pushed and challenged and learn and grow and maybe come back with some puffy eyes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You can rest next week.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's good. Is that the point of the staff retreat is not to rest. The point is, like you say, it can be overwhelming getting kids and getting clothes and getting families and getting travel and getting locations. But the point is to push us as a team to help us, because all that stuff forces you to work together.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got somewhere to be on time, so as a team we have to work together to get
and
there.
to see our spouses there and they're connecting and they're working together, that's phenomenal.
That's right.
It's incredible.
I love it.
If you guys have any questions or suggestions for new topics, or you want to learn more about staff retreats, what that would look like for you in your context, or even about the stuff that we talked about today with Noah's Flood, if you have questions about that, send us a text to 252-582-5028, or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, and you can partner with us financially on that same website. Click that donate button. Let us know it's coming from Clearview Today, and we're glad to count you as part of our Clearview Today Show family. We love you guys. We'll see you next time on Clearview Today.